you have to break the loop. If you do not break this loop that you're in, you're never going to be able to create the life that you want for yourself. Now, I understand that this is something you hear all the time, and you don't really know what it means though. So I'm here to tell you what does this loop to actually mean though? Because it's quite a generic term, is that we're stuck in a loop, but having an actual understanding of what this loop is going to provide you an actual understanding of how to escape the loop and enter a loop that you actually want to be in for yourself. Because one thing you need to understand is you will always be in a loop. Now, the question is, what loop do you want to place yourself in? Because if we're stuck in a loop within this three-dimensional realm, we better be in a loop that provides us the life that we want for ourselves, which is a successful business, a business that makes us a lot of money, friends, health. I mean, health really should be number one, because there is no business in money if it means you're sick. You're not gonna be able to enjoy your life if you're not healthy. Love a partner. Then there's so many things that you want in your life that will be part of this loop. So let's get into the Notion document now. Now, this loop is it's real. It's called the biopsychological feedback loop, which is the mechanism through which the imagination shapes psychological perception, alters biological states, and stabilizes identity through environmental feedback. Now, this is not something that I've created. This is known in the psychological community, the biological community, in which we understand how our perception, as I said, alters the biological state in which we experience our reality. This is a known loop. This is something that's been talked about for quite some time now. So it's not anything that I'm creating, although one thing that I did add is the imagination, because there is no loop without the imagination. Otherwise, we're kind of just robots. So I'm gonna zoom in so we can break this down in depth. So up at the top, the biopsychological feedback loop. It all starts with the imagination. Now, the imagination is the mechanism by which conscious meaning is converted into subconscious reality. Your imagination is not just some random thing that is meant to be discarded, because it's always interesting to hear people to talk about the imagination on one side being the reason why we have everything that we have, from the camera that I'm using to record this video, to the phone or the laptop that you're using to watch this video, to cell service, to Wi-Fi, to cars, to the coffee mug and the coffee that I'm drinking. All of this comes from the imagination. On the other hand, people will just downplay it and say, oh, it's your silly little imagination. Your imagination is getting you into trouble. Both sides, though, come back to the same conclusion, that it's driving one's experience, whether it's an advancement in human civilization or it's just a silly little thing that's getting you in trouble. Both come back to the same consensus, that is, the imagination is responsible for both. There needs to be more respect to the imagination. You need to respect your imagination more, because the imagination, as you're going to understand, is not just tied to the subconscious and the conscious, but intimately both. So I'm going to go to the conscious mind first, because the conscious mind is far less powerful than the subconscious mind. And as you're going to understand, it's really 5% of your mind in its entirety, as where the subconscious mind is 95% of what your mind is doing, the unseen, the below awareness. So your conscious mind is experiencing the biological and psychological effects of your subconscious mind. Now I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to come over to the subconscious mind. Now the subconscious mind is the body. Now in the body you have you have psychology and your biology. Now, one is not separate from the other. Psychology and biology are intertwined. They're bilateral, meaning they coexist together. So if you have a psychological shift in your perception, your biology is going to change the chemistry, the neural activity, the gene expression, and how your nervous system regulates your psychological perception. They're all intertwined. So from psychology, there's 6 main pillars. You have perception, you have emotions, you have thoughts, assumptions, beliefs, and behaviors. I already said it for biology, but you have neural activity, the electrical and chemical aspect, the endocrine signaling, which is just hormones, the nervous system regulation, and gene expression. Now, from the body, through the psychological pillar, the biological pillar, through the 6 pillars of psychology, the 4 pillars of biology, you then have the identity is created. The identity is expressed through behavior, affective signaling, attention, and decision making. Now, going back to the conscious mind, all of that subconscious stuff that's happening is experienced consciously through electrical and electromagnetic activity that reflects the internal state through people, places, circumstances, and events. Now, please, if you're going to remember anything from this video, let it be this. It does not matter what you consciously want. You are not experiencing the profits that you want in your business. Point blank, period. You're not experiencing the level of satisfaction in your life. Point blank, period. You consciously say, I want more money. I want a better, more fulfilling life for myself. But you're not experiencing that because subconsciously, you have already created definitions that drive the idea of money in the fulfillment in your life. And we're going to break this down in the later part of this video, so don't click off just yet. Understanding this, oh my goodness, you're gonna save years. Literally years. I wasted so much time consciously wanting things, but never addressing what I was subconsciously believing. And never auditing what my subconscious mind accepts as truth. Now, again, well, we kind of already touched on it, but down here is just the experience of the unseen. So everything that you accept, your perceptions, the emotions that you accept towards business. For example, consciously, you might want to make $50K a month in profit, but the idea of money comes with chaos and disorder because when you were younger, you saw your parents struggle with money. You had your grandparents talked about money being the root of all evil. And I'm speaking from my personal experience where money is bad and people who make money are criminals. And God forbid, someone who's just innately successful can make a lot of money. But no, they're criminals and they're corrupt. And even if they might be good people, but they're gonna go to hell because at some point they're gonna get sucked into the power that comes with money, and they're gonna do all sorts of devilish shit. I didn't realize that for a long time that was my subconscious definition of money. And based off that subconscious definition of money, the biology of my body, the chemistry, the hormones, my nervous system, the way it was regulating, and the way my genes were being expressed, all matched and mimicked that subconscious definition. So I was always wondering, why am I not making money? Why am I still working for somebody? Why am I not able to make my own business? And it was always because of my subconscious definition toward money, my relationship towards money. That was not from the conscious state. Because as all that subconscious stuff was happening, consciously I'm making $50K a month. I am my own business owner. I am successful, yada, yada, yada. But nothing was ever changing because I never addressed what I was doing or what I accepted as truth in my subconscious mind. So let's get into the meat of the video. Understand that the imagination is the fuel of your life. Without it, you would have no sense of self. You would essentially be a robot, unable to envision your life in a certain way or assign meaning to the experiences you move through each day. Now, your imagination is neutral, as we discussed before, where one side it's silly, the other side it's a powerful tool. It can be used for good or for harm. There is no built-in preference for how it should be used. The problem is this: In 99% of cases, this mechanism is used against the individual because they don't know it even exists. Everyone is searching for something, for fate. They always put it on fate, they put it on God, they put it on X, Y, or Z as the reason why they're experiencing the life that they want. Maybe in your situation, you're shaking your fist at God and wondering why God is damning you to not experiencing the success that you want. But you just don't understand the reason why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. And that's entirely due to what you're imagining on a day-to-day basis. Now, the untrained person moves through life believing fate is against them, that God wants them to suffer to earn their keep. That was something that I grew up with. That was a belief that I had to rewrite, which is so fucked when you think about it, that God wants them to suffer to earn their keep, because there's this notion of suffering in Christianity. Suffering is righteous. Suffering is noble. There's nothing noble about suffering. That they're cursed, that their genetics are working against them. That's something that I hear all the time, is that my genes are just out to get me. My genes aren't, wasn't born with good genes. But if you ever take any time to look at epigenetics, the study in how your environment changes your genetic expression, you're not doomed to what your genes say. Sure, your parents give you a sequence of genes, but that sequence of genes can be expressed in infinite ways, my friend. Infinite. Doesn't mean you're going to change your physical appearance, but you can certainly change the way you present yourself. You can certainly change the way your body looks in a muscular way. There's so many things that you can do to change your expression. You're not doomed to what your genes say you're doomed to. That's just a limiting belief. Anything that avoids taking responsibility for the lived reality. Now, I don't say this from a place of superiority, but from awareness. Now, our education systems, political ideologies, and even many religious concepts have been designed, intentionally or not, to keep people from breaking this loop. In school, we are trained to be workers, not thinkers. Now, this quote always, it's been in my mind for a long time, because it really reveals that there are people in this world that care not for, our own sense of satisfaction or fulfillment. I don't want a generation of thinkers. I want a generation of workers. John D. Rockefeller. And I don't have the book with me, but I'm reading the book called The Tavistock Institute, which is talking about how the Rockefellers, they essentially created a way in which they can psychologically manipulate every aspect of human civilization to benefit their narrative and their desires and their wants. If you can manipulate people psychologically, again, as you have now learned, you're changing their biological state to match that psychological state. And if you put someone in a state where they can't think for themselves, they can't question what's known, they can't question what they've been told, you essentially become a slave to what you see. And that's the problem for people like John B. Rockefeller. They don't want you to question what is seen, because what is seen can be changed. So you understand that you've been brought up in a society that has molded you to your physical senses. And part of this biopsychological feedback loop is having this addiction to what is seen and what is measurable. It's not entirely your fault at the end of the day on why you're the way you are. It's not my fault that I grew up in the house that I grew up in the education system that I grew up in, that made me a worker and not a thinker. And there's nuance to this, so I'm not trying to be black and white, so to speak. There's always nuance to everything. But there's absolute truth to this quote, that you're sculpted to be someone who is used for your energy, for someone else's cause. Political systems divide us instead of uniting us. Religious frameworks often oppose human nature rather than integrate it. And so the loop continues. And it's not a fun loop to be in. I know what it's like to be in the situation where you're not making the money you want to make. You're not able to go out into public spaces and be the confident individual that you want to be. To even see yourself as worthy or capable of having the things that you want, because the loop that you're in revolves around self-deception, self-sabotage. And even the idea of going and doing those things is met with chaos and disorder, even though going out and doing those things is the very thing that you need, but the loop keeps you stuck to what it's comfortable with, which is so fucked when you really think about it. Is you're trying to create a better life for yourself, but because this loop revolves around what's known, it perceives that reality as dangerous, even though that reality comes with more money, more success, more satisfaction, and more fulfillment, which are objectively better for you. It's crazy. Now, how the loop is formed. Your internal loop is created through two primary forces. Number one is experience, and number two is observation. Both are amplified by emotion and imagination. Now, to further understand this, we're going to break down the subconscious and conscious. If you remember one thing, let it be this. As mentioned in the beginning of the video, your subconscious controls 90 to 95% of your life. The remaining 5% is your conscious mind, the part of you that experiences the physical world, that experiences what you've subconsciously accepted as truth. The conscious mind handles actions, analysis, measurement, speech, movement, just present tense awareness. But every one of these functions is governed by the subconscious, and your subconscious controls psychologically. First off, psychologically, as we now know, perception, emotion, thought, assumptions, beliefs, and behavior. Biology is brain chemistry, hormones, nervous system regulation, and gene expression. Everything you consciously experience is a byproduct of what has been subconsciously accepted as true. And what becomes true is whatever you emotionally and imaginatively focus on long enough that you no longer can see reality any other way. Crazy. It's truly crazy. Understanding the loop. Here's the paradox though. Although the conscious mind is less powerful, all subconscious change begins with conscious choice. One thing that I've come to understand about life is it's very paradoxical in nature. All truths are but half truths, so to speak. Sure, there's as within, so without, but as without, so within. So as without, if you recognize your patterns, you consciously assert your own dominance, so to speak, over your loop and persuade the subconscious mind to accept a new truth, a new subconscious truth, by consciously asserting heightened emotions with an imaginal act in which you feel it to be so real that your brain cannot tell the difference between fact or fiction, so to speak. Then it's quite the paradox. And as you do that over and over, or really as you traumatize yourself in a positive way, then that new conscious action that you were just doing now becomes a subconscious truth. Subconscious reprogramming only happens when you deliberately select an imaginal act and emotionally charge it until it becomes familiar. To do this effectively, you must first understand your current relationship with key areas of life: business, money, love, relationships, health, and travel. You already have conscious definitions of these areas, but your lived experience is shaped by your conscious definitions. Example, these are your conscious definitions. Now, business, you think business is fun and rewarding. You think money gives me access and freedom. You think love to yourself is I am loved. Love is all around me. Love is healthy and beautiful. Health is I am healthy and happy. Being healthy is easy. It doesn't require much sacrifice or time. But subconscious, these are your subconscious definitions. Business is exhausting and draining. Money brings stress and instability. Love means control and loss of freedom. Health, or being healthy, is hard and costly. Those are your real definitions of these aspects of your life. And that's what is so vitally important for you to understand. You have to understand what your subconscious definitions are in order for you to merge your conscious definitions to become new subconscious truths or new subconscious definitions. Until these subconscious definitions are exposed, the loop cannot be broken. You must write them down, see them clearly, own them honestly. Only then can you change them. You have to be honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself about what you subconsciously accept as truth, you're going to repeat this loop over and over and over and over and over again. Like, you will not escape it. And part of this too is you have to separate yourself from the collective known or the collective understanding of money, relationships, travel, business, and so forth. And what I mean by that is, in most people's minds, they accept the definition of business being exhausting and draining. That's the collective norm. You cannot expect yourself to find the business success while operating in what the majority believes to be true. So you literally, and Nir knowledge, he's amazing. I highly recommend that you go watch his content. I've learned so much from him and I will continue to watch him. But your beliefs are the borders in which you live in. Is what he said. That's stuck with me for 24 hours now, because it was just yesterday that I heard this. But if you have to create your own border. If you live in the same border of the masses, so to speak, you're gonna be doomed for failure every single time, because the masses are programmed for failure, because all of their definitions revolve around struggle, lack, insecurity, and so forth. Until you remove yourself from those borders and enter your own nation, your own kingdom, where you have your own borders, your own definitions of business, money, love, and health, you're just stuck, dude. You are stuck. And there's something to be said about evolutionary psychology, where going against the pack is a means of being exiled. So the primal part of your brain is thinking that I don't want to go and create my own border, because if I'm in my own border, then I'm by myself and I'm exiled from safety, because the pact comes with safety, warmth, food, shelter. So there's something so primal that's trying to keep you safe, but we're not in that day and age anymore. We are in a society in which we can go get food at the grocery store whenever we want, relatively can find affordable shelter wherever you are in the world. I understand right now it's a very difficult time for a lot of people, but again, that's the collective. That's where most people's minds are at. You have to separate yourself from that. You have to allow yourself to see safety in your own border. You have to see safety in your own pursuit of life. If you do not, again, you're just going to be stuck in what the collective accepts as truth. Now, how to break the loop? You will continue to live in negative loops until you emotionally charge new subconscious definitions using the imagination. There is no shortcut. There is no pill. There's no external savior, only emotions and imagination. And I will say, diet's not going to do shit for you. You can do all the techniques in the world. Nothing is going to change until you rewrite your definitions, your subconscious definitions, because that's what actually matters. None of the diets matter. None of the abstinence from, I think abstinence is the right word, from sex, from drugs. Obviously, everything in balance, don't get me wrong, but everyone's always searching for the next magical solution to quantum jump. How you quantum jump is by changing your definitions. Because if everything is a byproduct of your subconscious mind, then, and your lived experience is based off of your subconscious mind, then the only thing that makes sense to actually create a quantum jump is by rewriting your subconscious definitions, because those definitions drives your perception of life, in which that alters your biological state, which makes you feel that these definitions are true, in which you then go out into the environment and the environment brings people, places, circumstances, and events into your experience to match your subconscious definitions. You have to change the subconscious definitions in order to change the way in which you experience your reality, the way in which you experience your business. The framework. Number 1, stillness. You have to quiet the mind and regulate the nervous system. If you don't regulate your nervous system and make it feel safe and comfortable, implementing new subconscious definitions is not going to happen. So you have to quiet the mind through getting into a meditative state. Focus on box breathing, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. Once you reach a level of serenity, peace, and the world just kind of fades into the background, that's when your nervous system is suggestible. Number 2, imaginal alignment. Create a short scene that implies the wish fulfilled. Now, for business purposes, sit down with a loved one and hear them congratulating you. Keep it short, keep it simple. Maybe that's your brother, your dad, your mom, maybe it's your partner, maybe it's your best friend. Just somebody that means something to you. Have them congratulate you. Hear them say, "I'm so proud of you for creating X amount of revenue, 100K in revenue. You make it look so easy. How are you doing this with little to no effort? How do you have such good employees or subcontractors?" Make it your own. It has to imply the wish fulfilled. If you're in your case, you want business success. So you want business success that comes with ease, peace of mind, little to no stress. There's always going to be problems, of course, but these problems never put you in a state where you're scrambling and worried and chronically stressed all the time, but you're chronically peaceful all the time. You have to create a scene that implies that. And the scene what I suggest is perfect because it implies that wish being fulfilled. Now, number 3, emotional activation. You have to feel it deeply, which rewrites the definition. Now, I want to be clear with you. I'm not talking about a heightened sense of emotion where you're jumping and screaming, you're experiencing a high of a high. That's not natural. When I talk about emotional activation and feeling it deeply, it's more of feeling it naturally. The way you can think about it is when you think about a memory that you can recall, it just feels natural. It's just like you're taking a breath. Like there's no thought of it. Did this happen? Did it not happen? It's just you recall it, you experience it in your imagination, and you go to another memory. It's the same thing. When you're in your scene, treat it the same way that you would with another memory. Now, it can be, if you're like me and you're very analytical, you'll think to yourself, well, this isn't real. Something you need to know is that your brain does not know the difference between fact or fiction. This is why when you think about sex, you get aroused. Use that to your advantage. And if you're, as you now are aware, everything you're experiencing is based off of what you subconsciously accept as truth. The mind is irrational. For example, my mom freaked out at me when I was like 6 for making a messy sandwich. I felt like I was doing something wrong for so long. I can remember this like it was yesterday. I was 6 years old. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not broken, but that experience was ingrained into my mind for years and years and years because it imprinted such a negative emotion into me that it became a cornerstone of who I was. The mind is unbelievably irrational, dude. So use that irrationality to your benefit. You don't need reason and logic to understand this reality or how things work per se. Use it to your advantage, okay? Number 4, knowing. Repeat it until it feels as natural as breathing. as you remove the analysis paralysis around this, you're at some point your mind's going to accept it. And if you don't experience that, perfect. I envy you. So, as I said, I'm a very analytical person, and it's gotten a lot better, and I'm finding myself not caring or wanting to understand more and more and more about it. But at some point, as you repeat this imaginal act, feeling the naturalness of it, you know it, because this you could say, I don't want to say synthetic because I don't believe that it's synthetic, but to describe this to you, I'm going to use the word synthetic memory. This synthetic memory now becomes a real lived memory because you just know. Your body now has accepted it as truth. You're going to repeat this over and over and over as if it feels like you're breathing. Number 5. Now, this is when you're not in that meditative state. You're doing a regular day-to-day aligned action. Behavior naturally follows the new identity. So as we wrote a new subconscious definition, or as we bring that conscious definition of money, if you truly believe that business is fun and rewarding, you're going to go throughout your day with that in mind. Truly. If that's what you subconsciously believe to be true, then why would you not act like business is fun and rewarding? Like for me, I don't even think business is work at this point. If you would look at my social media, I'm just posting content around my business and the things that I'm doing, and it's fun, it's enjoyable, because I truly believe that business is fun, it's enjoyable. Sure, yes, it's challenging, but it's not challenging to a point where I'm like going to a 9-to-5 and I hate my job and I'm miserable, and there's nothing wrong with 9-to-5s, but it's just not for me. But subconsciously, I have the definition that business is fun. It is truly, truly fun to me. It's truly enjoyable, especially when I'm working on the business and not in the business. Now, I don't mind painting every now and then, but painting is not what I want to do on a day-to-day basis. What I want to do is I want to market, which is something that is a huge focus for me, is being a better marketer this year. Generate leads, generate sales, and produce jobs, and collect cash. But more importantly than those things, it's like, I love, like the other day, 2 days ago, I went and sold a $21,000 job, and the clients had a really bad experience with a previous subcontract or a previous contractor. And they told me about the experience. Long story short, lack of communication, and the contractor blamed them for something breaking, which is still crazy to me because he's the one who built it. And this was like a week after he left, something just broke immediately. And then he had the audacity to say, well, what'd you do to it? Did you break it? And saying, what the fuck, dude? Like, are you serious? It's just insane to me that in my industry, people like that still exist. It's crazy, bro. And he already got paid, so he was trying to avoid having to go back and fix the problem and not have the integrity to what he sold them in the beginning. Now, I love being in the position that I was in that conversation, because I get to explain, I get to create the know, trust, and like factor in that conversation. And that is truly fun for me to articulate myself, my business practices, and why they can trust me by helping them understand who I am as an individual, my business experience, and just sprinkling a bit of my character, just who I am. Like it's fun for me. And I love being able to change their perception of business, where from on one side, it's horrible, a terrible experience, never want to do it again, to I love working with honest contractors who have a good heart, who hold integrity, who are here to serve you above all. Yes, we want to make money. Yes, I need money, but I don't necessarily want the money if it doesn't come with a service that is out of this world. For me, that is the most important thing. It is so valuable to me to be able to convey that to my clients. So with all that being said, you have to have that aligned action with your business. And that in of itself, because when you have that subconscious definition, what is the term I'm trying to think of? What comes with that, if you truly love your business, what comes with that is clients who love your business. Let that sink in for a second. And if you have clients that love your business, what comes with that? Money. Good money. Thousands of dollars type money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. You have to have aligned action. Number 6, detachment. Stop looking for proof once it feels true. I'm gonna relate to my situation again. I don't need proof to know that my definitions are true, because A, I subconsciously accept it as truth. And point 2, I guess I would say, is I have the experience in my imagination, number 1. I cannot stress the importance of having it in your mind first to experience it in the physical second. You can't be attached to something that you already have. And sure, there's nuance to that, but for the sake of my point is, how can you be attached to something that you already have, that you're not worried about losing because you just know that you're gonna have it? And if you don't have it, then you're gonna find something similar to it. If you lose that, again, you're gonna find something similar to that. You gotta let go, and you gotta stop attaching your worth to it. Your worth is, there's 2 sides to worth. There's what you're born with, because I believe that we come from God, the universe. We're fractals of that, and that's amazing. But the second worth is we're in this physical reality, and you have to prove yourself to a degree. You have to take action. You have to create a service that is exceptional. You have to be a good person, and so forth. When you detach by being exceptional. When you're exceptional, the proof comes naturally. Don't be one of the snowflakes that just sit around and meditate and think that it's just gonna come out of thin air. It's not, okay? You gotta take action. But the action always has to come from stillness, imaginal alignment, emotional activation, knowing, and aligned action. Apply this framework to each area you want to change. Be patient with yourself if this is new. Your brain, again, cannot distinguish facts from fiction, only what is emotionally felt and vividly imagined as real. Use that to your advantage. There's nothing rational about our experience in life. Like what? Not to get all like spiritual on you, but what is this experience? No one knows. No one will ever know what this experience fully and truly is. There's gonna be so many unknowns to life. And one of those unknowns is why we were created the way we were created, and why the subconscious is so irrational, and why our experience is irrational in of itself, and how it relates to the subconscious mind. So you need to accept this. The sooner you accept it, the sooner you're going to take advantage of how you were created, in which your subconscious mind drives your conscious actions, in which your brain doesn't know the difference between fact or fiction, only what is emotionally felt and imaginally envisioned. Use that to your advantage. Be delusional. Delusional in action, of course. Break the loop, create the life that you want, and do not ask for permission to do so. Please. You don't need permission. Just don't wait for your friends to say yes. Don't wait for your parents to acknowledge you. Don't wait for any of that shit. God, I wasted so much time waiting for approval. You getting permission. It's fucking bullshit. Don't wait. Just fucking do, my man, my gal. You don't need anyone's permission to go and be successful. Whatever definition is keeping you from taking action or needing permission, figure that shit out and create a new subconscious definition for yourself that allows you to create the life that you want because you just want it. You don't need anyone to give you permission to do so. Now, click the link in the description for a worksheet to help you understand your conscious and subconscious definitions. I'm not asking for nothing, all right? This is purely just to help you understand your subconscious definitions so you can implement the conscious definitions of a business, money, love, health, travel, whatever it might be. You have to break the loop. If you do not break this loop, you're going to cycle it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. There are people who have been stuck in loops for literally their entire lives. And it's the most disgusting, heartbreaking, slightly understandable life to look at. That's not for you though. I know that's not for you. You are here to break the loop, to break the generational curses, to uplift your family name after so many of your family members have not been able to break the loop. Be the example. At some point this brand will be made. I don't know if it's showing up or not, but lead by example. Lead your family, lead your friends, lead people on social media. Be the example of what it means to break the loop. Inspire people, show people that business is fun, that it's enjoyable, that it comes with great money, that it comes with being just improving who you are as an individual. Be the example and break the loop.